Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Local Domination Podcast, your ultimate guide to get local clients fast. This is Doran Aldana, your host, and we've got yet another kick-ass episode for you. Today is going to be a little different, a little unique, a little outside the box of the norm, because we're going to be doing a mastermind with none other, the one, the only, Matt Johnson. Matt Johnson, believe it or not, is one of the key influences behind this podcast. He's the master behind the operation, making sure that the buttons are pushed and the dials are twisted and the toggles are pulled to get this thing rocking each and every episode. He's helping to orchestrate and to bring you some of the best guest experts on the planet for this Local Domination Podcast. And he is a bona fide mortgage. Let's bring back this episode again. Go in and edit that mortgage, because Dorn is on mortgage mind right now. So go in and edit the mortgage piece, because he is a bona fide expert in marketing. He's seeped in marketing on a daily basis like myself. And so I thought it would be a cool idea to mastermind, to talk about ideas, strategies, tactics that you can use that are readily available to help you execute this local domination game plan. So with that being said, without further ado, Matt, thanks for hanging with me today.
Absolutely. It's going to be fun. We're going to talk about the Fab Five of local marketing. So we've got a lot of ground to cover.
Absolutely. Well, why don't we kick things off? Just give our peeps a little background on yourself, how you got into marketing, and how you got into the world of podcasts.
Yeah, so I come out of the real estate industry and a combination of real estate and marketing. So those are the two areas that I have my feet in every day. So I'm a partner in a real estate firm that's expanding. My business partner on that side runs Nebraska's #1 team, which sold 600 homes last year. And then I started a real estate podcast called Real Estate Uncensored a couple of years ago, which led into my other area that I have my foot in every day, which is podcast production. So I founded a company called Pursuing Results, which is how you and I connected. And so I produce the Local Domination podcast. But every day, in addition to being a partner in the real estate firm, I get a chance to interview some of the cutting edge minds, not just in real estate, but just in marketing in general. With the other podcasts that we produce and the interviews that I do myself personally, I get access to some of the smartest guys and the most cutting edge stuff that's coming down, the guys that are literally experimenting with this and putting tens of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars of their own money to find out what works to build their local businesses. And that's what we're going to talk about today.
Well, what's really cool about being the teacher, and is an often overlooked and neglected secret of success, is that the teacher learns more than the student. And because you've been on so many different podcasts with so many different guest experts, and you are at the cutting edge of learning what works in the front lines of capitalism, it's a very unique opportunity to see from people who are in the trenches every single day what's working, to catalyze it, to integrate it, to synthesize it, and to apply it, to execute it. And so it's really unique opportunity we have to peel back your cranium and to look inside your world and to find out what's not only working for you, but also what's working for other top achievers in the entrepreneurial space. So without further ado, let's talk a little bit about the Fab Five, as you call it, as to what is working right here, right now, even in the face of some of the toughest economic locations on planet Earth, whether it be a particular town or city that you might be thinking, the economy sucks, the rates are going up, real estate is stifled, there's too much inventory, not enough buyers, or whatever the case may be. You might be thinking that just because the market is going down in the toilet, you have to go with it. And to which we say, screw the freaking market. You create your own market. It's called your marketing. Screw the economy. You create your own economy. It's called you having the best skill set, the most profitable skill set in business. The #1 most profitable skill set in business, bar none, is marketing. So let's unpack that. What's going to push the needle on profit and performance for you so you can provide for your family like never before, serve more clients like never before, expand your business like never before, and be able to do it faster, better, easier, not working any harder, just working smarter. You ready for this, Matt?
Absolutely. So let's go through just give people a quick run through of what the Fab Five are that we were chatting about before we started recording. So they are Facebook, direct mail, joint ventures, local search, and database. And we've got some amazing episodes coming up with some guest experts that are going to cover and go a little bit deeper than we will today on things like the local search. So getting your Google My Business page together, really getting a hold of your database marketing and being able to systematically and strategically expand and grow and nurture your database. So we'll spend a little bit less time on those and a little bit more time on the Facebook direct mail and joint ventures. So let's start with Facebook. So one of the things that I'm seeing that's working, that I'm experimenting with in terms of both boosting content, boosting podcasts, but I'm also hearing it work really well in everything from just real estate to building consulting and coaching businesses, is Facebook ads, but specifically taking videos, whether they be pre-recorded videos that are natively uploaded to Facebook or a Facebook Live video, boosting those out. Right? So you can boost them out to what we call a cold audience. These are the people that don't already know, like, or trust you. They're not connected with you on Facebook. And what you can do is then Facebook will track those people and they know who has watched that video. And then it offers the ability to come back and put another ad in front of those people who have watched your video. Now you can even narrow it down. Like if you've got a lot of people that responded to your video, you can even narrow it down further by advertising or remarketing to people that have only watched a certain part of it, or they actually finished the video, or they watched a minimum of 5 seconds. So it's not just people that scroll by their feed. So you can really get more finely tuned. But at the bare minimum, just the fact that Facebook has made it incredibly easy to go out and reach out to a cold audience, put something of value in front of them, so you're not interrupting them with an ad, you're giving them something of value, then see who responds to that chunk of value you put in front of them, and then follow up with an ad, right? So there's kind of this, what we're seeing in marketing, Doran, I don't know if you're seeing this too, but what I see is that what you call the funnel just keeps getting a little bit longer, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it used to be interrupt someone with an ad, they buy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Then it transitioned to interrupt them with an ad, get them into an email list, then they buy stuff, right? Now it's getting to the point where you have to put something in front of them. You have to like dangle the lure out there a little bit. Then you get them to engage, you give them some value. Then you can get them into either a Facebook group or maybe into your email list. Then you have to provide more value. Then you got to warm them up a little bit. You got to throw them into the washing machine, warm them up. And then out the other side comes sales. Right, so it's interesting to see this kind of evolution as there just gets more steps added. The people that are the best at marketing, that are really on the cutting edge, are the people that are mastering. Okay, what's that next step? Like it's just fragmenting and the funnel is getting longer. How are we dealing with that so that we're giving more value at every stage of the way? And so Facebook is making that a little bit easier with the way that they've opened up this the new Facebook ads.
Yeah, I've heard that said from a marketing expert, that you want to move the free line. So instead of trying to go from a suspect to calling you up, or a suspect to requesting whatever you've got and being hot for what you got, move the free line. And instead of charging them right up front or getting them to hire you right up front, you add value. You position yourself as an expert. You indoctrinate. You provide service that shows them that you are the only logical choice. And then if and when they do need your service, or if and when they do come to a place where they are wanting to take that next step, or they have a friend or family member who wants to take the next step, you are top of mind because you've added that value up front. I've often heard it also said that you want to only give cheese, no whiskers.
Yeah.
So in other words, if you are trying to lure in the mouse, you don't show whiskers, you only show the cheese. You only show them what they want. You only give them what they want. You only give them what pushes their hot buttons and what's valuable and relevant to them. You don't show any whiskers. You don't ask them to opt in yet, right? That's whiskers. You don't ask them to call you. That's whiskers, right? You don't ask them to get on a webinar yet. That's whiskers. Because again, it's too much of a leap. It's like saying, hey, honey, you're hot. You want to get married? That's too much whisker, not enough cheese. You got to start with the cheese first. So one of the things that's been working for me as of late is Facebook groups. So speaking of cheese, people love affinity, people love community, people love to connect and correspond and collaborate with like minds. And so the cool thing about a Facebook group is if you dial it in on the right topic with the right message to the right audience, it's almost like it's the ultimate cheese, because they feel like it's an easy yes proposition. If I am a first-time home buyer in Vancouver and I want to get into a home of my own, and I see that there's a Facebook group for first-time homebuyers in Vancouver with tactics and strategies on how to get into a home of my own with little to no money down, even if I have less than perfect credit, I'm thinking, dang, why would I not say yes to that? It's free.
Yeah.
And I'm going to learn some cool stuff. And I don't have to leave Facebook. So Facebook gives me preferential treatment because I'm, as a marketer, if I keep the person on Facebook, the marketer gets preferential treatment. It's a lower cost per click, right?
Yep.
So all those factors combined, I found it to be, I think I've added like 1,000 people to my group for like $800 just in the last month from Facebook. And I've made multiple return on investment, like probably about 400% ROI in the last 30 days, just from adding people to my Facebook group. Now that particular Facebook group is for a niche business I have, providing marketing solutions to mortgage professionals. But whatever business you're in, you want to think about how can you build a Facebook group that adds value to people who are your ideal clientele. So tell me about your experience with Facebook groups. Have you found that to be effective?
Yeah. So, I mean, I've got a couple of friends and clients that have done really, really well with it. I'll share a couple of examples. So one of my clients, a guy named Hank Avink, comes out of the real estate kind of coaching industry. And he went independent and started his own coaching business and has built a 6-figure coaching business in something like 6 months. And the way that he did it was he started a Facebook group where he delivers value in there every day around topics that his market cares about. He invites and actively takes people from being connected to him personally through his Facebook profile, invites them into the group, and kind of scale back and limit it a little bit the value that he gives on his personal profile. So it's important to kind of find that balance, right? And then he was able to, like I mentioned with the Facebook Lives, that's kind of his primary mode of outreach. Is he'll deliver a Facebook Live, he'll watch to see how his audience responds to it, the people that he's already connected to. And if it's something that they really latch onto, he'll pour gasoline on the fire and he'll go to Facebook and say, all right, let's boost it. $5, $10, $50, $100, whatever it is, just to keep pouring gas on the fire and keep that Facebook Live video circulating. I mean, I've seen one of his, several actually of his Facebook Live videos are, top 5,000, 6,000 views. Because of that, he'll watch and see what takes off and then use Facebook ads to kind of pour gasoline on the fire. What that does is that expands that Facebook video out to the kind of the friends of friends, and then target specific cold audiences of people that you want to reach, whether they're homeowners in your area, whether they're foodies in your area, if you want to bring them into your restaurant, whatever the case is, you can reach out to a cold audience of people, but you put that video in front of them. And the key then is, well, then what do you do with it? Like, what do you do with the attention? If you have a Facebook group where you can invite them to, and that's their next step, and that next step closer to you is also free and also is only cheese and no whiskers, it's a pretty no-brainer thing for them to say yes to. And so that's been working really well. I've seen that for him. And then there's another connection kind of in the coaching world. He is a coach and consultant. He helps business coaches build their businesses. He has built a Facebook group that's taken off and gone to over 5,000 people in the last, I think, 2.5 years. And that is his main strategy for growing his business. He used to run podcasts, and now he's kind of scaled back on that. And he's putting all of his focus and energy into that Facebook group and just growing that because that's where he delivers value for free. And then he softly promotes the next step closer to him because it's kind of this inner circle type thing. And that's what moves people from not having any idea who you are and being kind of out there in the ether to getting their attention, getting them into something where you can build that relationship with them and add value, and then softly promote the next step into your inner circle. And so both of these guys are really smart, and I love their approaches because they have a very strategic model of getting people in. They don't do anything scattershot. They think of everything kind of in, the best way to describe it is concentric circles. So you have that outer circle of people who don't know you. You move them a little closer, a little closer, a little closer. So you have to kind of figure out, well, what is that for you? If you're a restaurant, you've got that circle of people that just show up and they try it. Then you've got the inner circle of people that are regulars, right? You want to move people from not having any idea who you are and you want to keep moving them in until they become regular attendees and they have a day of the week where every day they show up at your restaurant.
Right.
Or you want to move them in that, if you're a mortgage pro or a real estate pro, you want to move them into that inner circle where they are continuously engaging with you over some content, something that you have in common with them that has nothing to do with real estate or mortgage or whatever, to keep in contact with them in those 5 to 6 years when they don't care about real estate or mortgages at all.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you figure out what your inner circle is, and then your goal is just reach out to the world at large and start drawing them a little closer one step at a time. And as much of that, like you said, moving that free line to where most of that is free, until the point where you have that thing that you ask them to buy, whatever that is for you, depending on your business. And so those guys are really, really doing it right. And they use Facebook groups very strategically as one of those kind of in-between circles on the way from moving people towards their inner circle.
Absolutely. A couple things to add on to that I think would really pour gasoline on the fire for those of you who want to strike while the iron is hot and execute this idea. A few things I noticed at work. One is you would definitely be well served to invest a little extra money to get a really great image for your ad when you're advertising your Facebook group. Don't go with your own, do it yourself on Canva or whatever. Get a professional to do it. Trust me, it makes all the difference in the world in your positioning, how legit you look. And people can intuitively tell just by looking at the image if this is something that's legit, if this is something that is going to be beyond their expectation. People want to be part of something that is beyond just average or normal or mediocre. They want to be part of something stunningly successful, stunningly awesome. People love to be part of something that is legitimate and cool and awesome. And if your image doesn't reflect that, they're just going to move on to the next thing. So imagery is really important. Go get yourself, if you're part of the brand, go get yourself some really good photos taken. I'm blessed. I have a wife who's got uber talent. So, even on my worst day, she can make me look great. And so having a good photographer can go a long way. Get yourself some great imagery to add to your branding. Makes a huge difference. Another thing I noticed is if I split up my ads from just doing everything all in one. I used to do everything all in one, desktop and mobile, all in one. And then I learned after ponying up about 11 G's in consulting for high level guidance on this, that it's actually a bad idea because they're set up within Facebook to optimize uniquely and differently. So they told me, and I didn't know this before, that if I do them separately, so mobile be separate from desktop, and then even when you do mobile, uncheck Instagram and the network, so it's just mobile news feed. I found I got my best per click optimization with mobile news feed. No Instagram, no network. And the headline or the title of the ad is free Facebook group for, and then fill in the blank. For me, it was free Facebook group for mortgage pros.
Yep.
And then it had, a hook. Are you a successful mortgage pro who wants to blank, blank, and blank without the hassle of blank, right? So you use that formula for your own, but essentially you want to have a hook with things that they want without the hassle of what they don't want, and use that as a hook for them to be part of your group. The other thing that I found very useful is polls. So what's the biggest challenge holding you back from achieving your goal of X, right? And then you can have those polls. Well, you know what that is? That's a self-congregating device to have people raise their hand and say, I'm interested in what you've got. Because each one of those are problems that if you indeed can solve, then you can engage them through instant message and say, hey, I noticed that on the poll, you said you have a problem with X. Is that right? Yeah. Would you like some help with that? Yes. Why don't we hook up? And then you invite them to the next step, whether it be a one-on-one conversation on the phone or whatever that might be. I found virtual assistants to be invaluable for engaging people in the group as if it's one-on-one. But if you give them a template, you can reach out to them and connect with them as if you're connecting with them one-on-one. It maxes out at 50. It maxes out at 50 per day, but still, out of 50 people, you might get one person per day or two people or three people per day who are hot for what you got and are ready to take that next step. So those are a few little nuances that if you engage those strategies inside of the overarching strategy of a Facebook group, I think you'll find it quite effective.
Yeah, that is a ridiculously good strategy. I was talking to a guy that's kind of on the cutting edge of real estate marketing, and what they're experimenting with is exactly that. So you talked about kind of having a VA reach out to people based on the poll results and things like that, and you kind of have to script out what their conversation looks like, and then it gets turned over to you at some point. The future of that is once you have that figured out so a human being can do it and they're not you, the next level is chatbots, and having the chatbots actually do that. And all you have to do is script out the conversation tree and how that looks. So that's a whole other level, but that's what's on the way. They're already experimenting with that in the real estate field, where you can have somebody register to see a home on a site. It will invite them for more information on Facebook Messenger, and then a chatbot will engage with them and have a natural conversation with them through Facebook Messenger up until the point where they are lead scored as being like a hot lead, and then it'll bounce it over to an inside sales agent, right? And then that inside sales agent will follow up with a call, and at the right point based on what they determine is a hot lead. So there's some interesting things coming down the pipe, and those will be services that local business owners, that like people will build software for, you know, each different industry to kind of help you take advantage of that. But those are some of the cool things that are coming down the pipeline.
Amazing age and era we live in, brother. If you can't be successful now, dude, you can't be successful at any time. It just keeps getting easier.
It does.
Provided, of course, you get smarter and you're working smarter, not harder. So,
well, let's talk about that. Yeah, I'd love to get into to direct mail, but why don't we skip into joint ventures for a second? Because you talk about working smarter, not harder. This is one of the best ways. I mean, it's worked for me. A lot of the stuff that I do, I mean, essentially the podcasting business is the only business I'm involved in that's wholly owned by me. Everything else I do through joint venture. So I'd love to talk about that for a second, and how local business owners can really partner with people. So let's talk about affinity groups a little bit, and how to figure out who else has kind of an incentive for you to work together because of who they sell to. So how do you think about joint ventures when you think about who you want to look at partnering with?
Yeah, well, it's about tapping into someone else's network, someone else's influence, someone else's authority. Look at Oprah, for example, her book club. When she endorses a book, what happens to the sales of the book? Through the roof overnight, right? Yeah. Through the stratosphere and beyond. So that is obviously a very extreme case of the power of third-party endorsement. But even if you run a little mom and pop pizza shop, locally, or you've got a laundromat, or you got a dry cleaner, whatever it might be, you can use the power of third-party endorsement by asking yourself the question, who else is marketing to the same clientele I'm marketing to? When a client comes to me or a customer comes to me, who are they patronizing before they come to me, and who are they patronizing after they come to me? And the ultimate synergy is the one that they go to before they come to me. So a perfect example is in real estate, the client generally will go to the real estate agent before they go to the mortgage professional, right? So that's a perfect synergistic fit. Now, the problem becomes when it becomes such an intuitive opportunity that everyone's doing it, then you have to ask the next question, which is, what's going to make me stand out? What's my unique value proposition? So once you identify your hit list of potential strategic partners, you got to ask yourself, what is my UVP, my unique value propositions, and it's going to make me the only logical choice for this partner that's going to have them see our synergistic partnership as a privilege that has so much unique value, they literally go into convulsions at the mere thought of being disconnected, from being unplugged. We call that pain of disconnect in the marketing world. So you want to create massive, crazy, incredible, unbearable pain of disconnect, which means you better dang well have something better than just average, right? And by the way, great rates or great service or great prices or great products or whatever it might be that you offer or you hawk, that ain't enough. They expect that as a minimum expectation of doing business. That ain't enough. That's just minimum. Question is, what are you doing beyond that? So this is a perfect example. We do this. One of the reasons why we do this podcast is I love to learn. I love to grow. I love to connect with awesome people with mammoth minds. But I also have a part of my strategic game plan to meet up with other business leaders who market to the same clientele I market to. One of the reasons why it's called Local Domination Podcast is because it's all about local marketing. Who's my ideal clientele for my testimonial engine software that helps business owners automate the process of collecting 5-star rave reviews and sharing them on social media and review sites and dominating their local search? It would be other vendors, other authorities, other thought leaders who help local businesses grow their business. And those are perfect guest experts for this podcast. What's the easiest pitch as the first step? All cheese, no whiskers, as we call it, to attract partners, add value up front. This is a perfect way to add value up front. We do this podcast, we give them exposure, we give them an opportunity to get their message out there. It's all cheese, no whiskers. At the end of the podcast, we've had a great time connecting and sharing and synergizing. And then the next logical step, if there is indeed the right synergistic fit for it, is, hey, what do you do when it comes to your clients asking about getting reviews? Do you have a system? What do you recommend? Well, they recommend, they do ask for help, but I don't really have anything. Well, dude, I got something for you. And that's where the synergy starts to go deeper, is when we start with a podcast. And then the next step is, hey, what do your clients ask you about when it comes to X? Whatever it is you offer, do your clients ever ask about X, Y, or Z? And then they'll usually say yes, absolutely. And that's where we can talk about doing more, affiliate joint venture marketing initiatives. So that's just one example. In the real estate game with mortgage professionals, I teach mortgage professionals how to go to realtors and to, instead of just being deemed a mortgage parasite offering great rates and great service like every other Tom, Dick, and Harry, we talk about how we're going to help the realtor if indeed they qualify. And yes, there is a qualification process. That's the posture. If indeed they qualify as part of the VIP partnership program, help the realtor attract more quality listings, sell them faster for top dollar, generate more buyer leads, increase the repeat and referral business, get more rave reviews, and systematize the entire process, and even have their own marketing concierge do a lot of that heavy lifting for them, otherwise known as a virtual assistant. But we need to see if you qualify. So the first step is to have a little bit of an interview, a bit of a discovery process where we meet up and lift up the hood on your business and see if we might be the right fit. What works better for you this week or next week? Right. And so that, imagine the realtor getting a call like that versus, hey, we provide great rates and great service. Do you ever get any deals that can't get done that maybe you could throw our way? Maybe we can help you out.
Yeah.
That's the same old mortgage parasite bullshit that most mortgage professionals throw at realtors. And then they wonder why realtors are so sick and tired of it that they hang up on them before they half done. Right.
Yes, exactly.
So does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. And it's interesting. I want to go back to something you said as far as providing, great service and great rates and things like that being an example of what's now the minimum. That is the barrier to entry. So there's a great book called Managing the Professional Service Firm by David Maister, and he talks about like why clients really hire service professionals. He points out, which is amazing, something that we all need to keep in mind, which is that we are usually specialists in whatever we do. It is difficult to impossible for people outside of our profession to really judge how good we are technically at what it is that we do. Right. Now, maybe if you're a restaurant, it's a little bit different because people either they like the food or they don't. They like the service or they don't. But if you're a mortgage professional, if you're a real estate agent, it's very difficult to impossible for the general public to tell if you're actually good at what you claim to do. So what do they judge you by? What do they hire you for? They're hiring you for the experience that they get when they work with you, the communication. Do they feel secure? Do they know exactly when they're going to hear from you next? Do they get exactly the information that they want, how they want it, and all these other things? And that's one of the ways that we need to keep in mind as, whether you're a marketer, whether you're a business owner, whatever the case is, people cannot tell how technically good we are at what we do. They hire us and they judge us and they review us based on the quality of the experience that we gave them while we worked together, and not just while we worked together, but literally the entire start of the process. So the way your website looks, to how they came in contact with you, how you reached out to them, your first initial contact to the sales process, closing the deal, what you did as soon as you closed the deal with them, and then how you operated with them through the entire service process, and then after, how you followed up with them and asked them for a review. Is it systematic? Is it highly professional? Does it make you look good, or does it make you look average? Does it convey your unique value proposition? And so we need to keep that in mind, that they're judging us based on probably something different than we think they are. And if we think they're judging us on our technical ability and our technical skill and all the work that we do for them behind the scenes, we're dead wrong.
You make a great point. And to add to that, a lot of people, they get caught up in being so good at the technical stuff, they lose sight of the real reason they got into business in the first place, which is freedom. Yeah. And there's a big difference between being in the back, stirring pots and being the chief cook and bottle washer all day long versus owning the operation and having people do all that for you, being the orchestrator versus the technician. See, the orchestrator understands what needs to be done to some degree, but they don't necessarily do it all themselves. They might have uber, adeptness at knowing all the technical stuff and even doing the technical stuff, but they don't necessarily need that. What they need is someone doing it for them so that the client gets that extraordinary experience without them physically being there. That's the ultimate. And a lot of business owners lose sight of the distinction of being a technician versus being a marketer or an orchestrator. It's the difference between someone who's great at violin versus someone who's in the front conducting the entire symphony and giving the audience members an extraordinary experience. Yeah. And so we want to be the conductor. We don't necessarily want to be the individual technical players doing our individual notes. We want to be the conductor, the mastermind behind giving the audience an extraordinary experience. That way we can be on the beach sipping a Mai Tai and the client is still getting a great experience because you're not the chief cook and bottle washer doing it yourself. You're not the technician, you're the orchestrator.
Yeah. Yeah, you're the designer of the experience. And I think it was Dan Kennedy that said something to the effect of, the day you make the decision to stop being the doer of the thing and become the marketer of the thing, like that's the day you truly become a business owner. That quote always stuck with me. There was something that one of my business mentors always said based on that, because he's also a big Dan Kennedy fan. He extrapolated it into this little maxim, which is, if you have to do it yourself, there's no money in it. I love that phrase.
And if there is money in it, there's no freedom in it. See, you could make $1 million a year, but if you're working 80 hours a week, that's no life.
Yep. 100% true.
I'll take 1/3 of that and have total freedom. And that's true abundance in my world.
Yep. Absolutely agree. All right. So we covered, probably went deep into 2 out of the Fab 5. So Facebook, direct mail, joint ventures, local search, and database. Like I said, we'll have a couple of guests in the next few weeks and coming months that will cover the local search and database, both from the perspective of local business owners in a couple of different fields. But give me a couple of thoughts, Dawn, real quick on what's your experience been with direct mail? I know you love direct mail. We're both big Dan Kennedy fans and Jay Abraham fans, so we both love direct mail. But what's been your experience with it?
Well, there's a lot of ways to have it not work. There's a lot of ways to lose your shirt with direct mail, just like any consumer direct. I mean, let's face it, you got to pay for print, you got to pay for postage, and it's not cheap. It's not like you're just sending out emails for free. So there's a lot of ways for you to get it wrong. So this is where having some degree of marketing prowess comes in key. There are so many audiobooks and books on the topic of direct mail for local businesses is ridiculous. And they're just a click away on Audible for chump change. So we really have no excuse. I mean, if you invest 15 minutes a day while you're walking the dog in the morning and listening to one of those books at double speed, you'll be a master at direct mail within a matter of 6 to 12 months. Even 90 days, you'll have more prowess in that area than 95% of your competitors, I'm sure. Yep. So we really have no excuse, but there is a degree of acumen you do need to make it work. You definitely, the first step is I would go narrow, deep, and rich with a few versus wide and shallow with many. So I'm a big proponent of Chet Holmes's idea of the best buyer neighborhood. If you haven't read his book, The Ultimate Sales Machine by Chet Holmes, you definitely want to get that book. It's phenomenal. And he's got the strategy called the best buyer neighborhood. Essentially what the strategy is you'd identify where your highest density of ideal clients reside. So maybe you have a mail walk or a zip code. So in the real estate game, you want to ask yourself, who's my ideal client? Well, it's going to be inside of a range. Oftentimes there's an upper echelon where if you go beyond that in ticket price or affluence level, it's beyond either your mindset or it's beyond what your products or services can offer that really hits the sweet spot. If you go too low, you're selling trailer parks and or trailers at the trailer park and you're making no money. So you want to find that sweet spot where it's the upper echelon of what you believe you can deliver in terms of your product or your service and your competitive pricing, as well as your own mindset. And I would challenge you to press your mindset beyond your comfort zone.
Right.
So if you don't believe that you can comfortably and competently provide a great service and a great experience for a multi-million-dollar clientele, but you have the products and the back-end service to deliver, and it's just your mindset getting in the way, get over it. Press yourself out of your comfort zone. There's no progress inside your comfort zone. All progress is outside of your comfort zone. So get over it. It's like if you went to the gym and you're expecting to be comfortable, you ain't going to get much in the way of results. You might as well stay home and loaf on the couch. So if anywhere in life where you want to get results, it's going to be outside of your comfort zone. So I would identify a particular area of town where your ideal client resides. So it's usually the more affluent clientele. It's usually higher commission or revenue per transaction type of clientele. Identify the mail walks. You can go to your post office and they can help you with specific mail walks, and you can do unaddressed mail to those people. And so rather than sending out tens of thousands of pieces, maybe you're only sending out 1,000 or 2,000 or 3,000 pieces a month, but you're doing it consistently. Rather than sending out 15,000 or 50,000 pieces and it being a one and done campaign, why not have a long-term nurture campaign to a select group of 500 to 1,000 to 2,000 people, and you're spending less money in a much better, higher targeted campaign where you do one transaction because it's a more affluent clientele with bigger transaction sizes. You don't need as many of those transactions to recoup your costs and to turn a profit. And so the best buyer neighborhood campaign is really about being strategic on who is your absolute best creme de la creme client, and target just those people and do a long-term nurture. And you're obviously going to want to have your branding and your positioning to be in sync with that. So if you're trying to target a more affluent clientele and your postcard looks like you're, marketing to Walmart clients, that's probably not going to be a very congruent match. So you need to have the right match, the right, as Dan Kennedy would say, market to message media match. So you could even split the cost with a partner of yours. If you have a partner who is also marketing to the same clientele, a joint venture partner, you could split the cost and share the leads, right? Mm-hmm. You could have their stuff on one side, your stuff on the other side, have the same designer, do both so it looks congruent, synergistic, and top notch. And then, of course, offering stuff of value. So in the real estate game, we keep doing real estate because that's my other niche. So you can expand this for whatever you want. But the big idea is if you offer only cheese, no whiskers by offering education or something of value, as opposed to just saying, hey, we sell appliances. We have a special offer, 50% off until the end of the month. Well, that's only for people who are hot for what you got to buy an appliance now. What if you were to offer an educational report on, the seven mistakes people make with their appliances that cause them to burn out sooner than they should, or the 7 things you should know about buying an appliance at the best price without compromising quality, or something like that. In the real estate game, we've got 27 home seller mistakes and how to avoid them, or the ultimate home seller success kit, how to maximize the resale value of your home, the ultimate home buyer success kit, 15 home buyer mistakes and how to avoid them. We got even refinancing ones like 9 secrets to make your home rental pay for itself. You get the idea. Yeah. So if you offer only cheese, no whiskers by providing relevant, valuable, useful, applicable information, advice, tools, etc., and you offer that, chances are you'll get way better results than if you're just going after the hot for what you got people who need what you got now.
Yeah. And that's a great place to close us out today, because that is a big mistake, and people don't even realize that they're making it, is that when they go to market, when they go to advertise whatever it is that they sell, they think selfishly, and they start with what they want, which is an immediate sale. And so everything that they do, every message that they put out there into the world is driven by that need, which is, I need a deal, I need a sale, I need more customers, I need more clients. And so every message is aimed at just those people and literally the only people that would ever respond to that message is the tiny fraction of people that are ready to buy right now. And that will never be the majority of the people that are on the receiving end of whatever message you put out there.
Bingo. Yeah, absolutely. And so cast a wider net by going for the lukewarmers, not just the hot for what you gotters.
Exactly.
Offer value. Push the free line.
Exactly. All right. Well, let's close out with this. Everybody should go check out localdominationpodcast.com. That gets you directly to the blog. There's links there for iTunes and Stitcher. You can also just go and directly subscribe on either of those platforms to the podcast. And then, Doran, how do they get the ultimate testimonial toolkit?
Yeah, good question. We've got a website for that, mytestimonialengine.com/local domination, I do believe, but we might have to check that out to make sure.
Just /domination. So mytestimonialengine.com/domination.
There you go. It's a good thing we got the brains in this operation here to edit my bloopers. So thank you for that, Matt. mytestimonialengine.com/domination.
Perfect. All right, man. Well, this is a lot of fun. We've got some great guests coming up on the podcast. So everybody should stick around and watch that. Go subscribe to the show. Get the Testimonial Ultimate Success Testimonial Toolkit. And Doran, anything else that you want to close out with?
No, that's all for now, my man. So thanks everyone for listening. This has been another episode of the Local Domination Podcast. And Matt, I appreciate you for being here with us. It's been a blast. It's been a pleasure. Remember, all y'all, this is your ultimate guide to getting local clients fast, the Local Domination Podcast. So if tips galore that help you soar is what you adore, know this: we've got more in store. Remember, nothing happens without implementation. So in the meantime, in between time, go forth, engage. It's time for Operation Domination.